Welcome to Creekside Chats with successful multifamily real estate investors, where we delve deep into the lives of our successful guests to find our own inspiration to thrive and flourish in all areas of our lives. I'm your host, Dr. Allen. Today's guest is a full-time real estate accredited investor. After graduating as a civil engineer, he worked in construction for 10 years. He realized he did not want to work forever and found his way into real estate investing as a means of achieving financial freedom. He is the founder and managing member of the Mishi Group and has invested in 492 units in Texas with a focus on San Antonio, Rio Grande Valley, and South Central Texas. Mauricio is a lead sponsor on 48 units acquired in 2019 and currently controls over $1.7 million in multifamily assets. So welcome my guest today, Mauricio Ramos.
Dr. Allen,
happy to have you, Maurice.
Dr. Allen, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks for the invite. Happy to share my story.
Well, let's get into your story. Let's start off with, I like to start off with your childhood because that's where it all really begins. Can you think of a memorable time in your childhood, and particularly one that you could call a formative experience that has actually led you to where you are today?
For sure. So I'm from Mexico. I'm from Yucatan in Mexico, and I grew up in Matamoros, Tamaulipas, which is a border town with Brownsville, Texas. It's a very south tip of Texas. And where I grew up, since probably in that house where my parents still live, when we got to that neighborhood, it was probably 20% built out, the houses. It was mostly just lots. And all the time there was 3 or 4 houses being built all the time, and that would always catch my attention. If you're familiar with construction in Mexico, it's a lot more of CMU block and concrete kind of structures, not necessarily brick and stick like in the U.S. So I would see that would always catch my attention, see the workers and see them doing foundations and columns and walls and then an elevated deck. And turns out that when I got to college, I always knew that I wanted to be an engineer. I was very proficient in math. So I guess that's when I realized that civil engineering was what I wanted to do. And like you said, everything starts there, right? So when I was growing up, I saw all that construction. I probably saw good 30 to 40 houses just built from nothing. And I was able to walk them several times throughout the construction process as a kid, but still, right? So that is definitely a memorable time.
Well, that is interesting how our childhood experiences do lead us into adulthood. My dad was a civil engineer as well, so we have a lot in common. So you went to Texas A&M Kingsville. Is that where you got your degree?
Yes, that's correct. I started in UT Brownsville with my basics, and then transferred into Texas A&M University in Kingsville, and then graduated there in 2008 as a civil engineer.
I didn't remember they had a civil engineering degree there. So anyway, that's a surprise to me. I should have known that, I guess. So Maurice, talk to us about this transition from Mexico to the United States, and talk to us about that whole immigration experience.
For sure. So I went to school in Mexico all the way through high school. So in school, I went to a private Catholic school in Matamoros. A very good school. They would teach us English. In being in a border town, I was able to understand for the most part most common English, right, and maybe read most of it. But I wasn't able to really speak it. Like I could communicate and get something, but wasn't really was not fluent at all. And then so when I started college in University of Texas in Brownsville, again, this is a border town, so it's mostly Spanish. 95% of the population is Hispanic, and everybody or most people speak some Spanish, right? So you were able to get along with mostly Spanish, right? Except for the actual classroom. But then sometimes you would be able to still ask a question to a friend in Spanish, or the teacher could speak Spanish too, right? So you could still get along. And for this, I had a student visa. So I started there, and my English started getting a little better and a little better, and then transferred to A&M, where if I remember correctly, all of the teachers that I had in engineering school were not from the US. So their native language was not English. There was only one teacher from Mexico, one doctor. So he, of course, spoke Spanish, but all the others did not speak Spanish, and their English was not their first language. So that was the first kind of like push for me to really have to step up my English and learn English and speak it and communicate it correctly, right? So that helped a lot. Graduated and then started working. The first company that I worked for was kind of like a Hispanic company in the Valley, in the Rio Grande Valley, which is the south portion of Texas. So again, a lot of Spanish. And then quickly after a year, I transferred into a much larger commercial company called Skanska. It's a worldwide construction company. And all the people that I worked with were American, English only.
Native speakers.
Native speakers, English speakers. So it was English or English. So that's and after that, everywhere I have worked, it's been like that. So it's really until then when I had to kind of like step up my English and learn also more of the culture, and kind of let go a little bit of without stopping being myself, right? But just kind of let go of a little bit of the hard culture items that we hold, and kind of be open to a little bit a few other as you're in a different country. And so now that I'm in San Antonio, fast forward, got to San Antonio 6 years ago, been in Texas for about 17. Definitely feel more comfortable in San Antonio. I like Texas. I like San Antonio. But it's been an interesting transition for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it has. I'm sure there's a lot of cultural things that we don't even think about. Those of us who have grown up and raised here in the United States, we really don't think about cultural differences. We've never been forced to do that. So, talk to us about some of the differences between Mexico. Mexican culture and U.S. culture. I've been to Mexico once, down in Cuernavaca, so and spent about 2 weeks down there. And it's there's significant differences. But talk to us about the things that you've discovered that are different between the cultures.
For sure. So some of the things, there's some things that even in the U.S. are celebrated as Mexican kind of holidays or just parties. For example, Cinco de Mayo, right? Cinco de Mayo is not such a big deal in Mexico.
I know. Yeah.
A lot of people would think it's the Independence Day, and it's not, right? Independence Day,
exactly. Yeah.
September 15th in Mexico, which we celebrate. We typically would do a big party, right? That day, doesn't matter if it falls on a Monday, right? We'll do a party that day, just like the U.S. does on July 4th. Also, we celebrate Dia de Muertos, which is the day of the death, which became very popular after that James Bond movie. That parade doesn't exist. It was just made for the movie.
It's just made up.
Now they make it just because it became very popular, but that parade doesn't exist. It's more of there's a movie that Pixar came out with. I don't know if your listeners have seen it, but there's a movie. It's on Netflix. And it's about that. It's about the day of the death, and that reflects very much how it is actually celebrated, right? How we honor our family members that have passed away, and how it is. It's really kind of like a party, right? And it's a day to spend with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
With spend to what they like doing, the music that they like listening, things like that. So that you won't see that very much in the U.S. Celebrated, and including myself, right? The people that have come here kind of like, you don't really take the time to do it. You see that kind of a little bit forgotten. Of course, the food. We love food. We love spices, and everything's fried, and everything has chile and beans. So, and you will see very, very many decent Mexican restaurants in the U.S. Music, you know, Mexicans were loud, and when there's a bunch of us, we become very loud, and we have a huge party, and everybody in the room will notice where the bunch of Mexicans are. So those are some of the things that you'll see once you come to a different country. And in all honesty, I've been to 25 countries around the world, and it's not only the U.S., right? If you go anywhere, you'll notice if there's a group of Mexicans, you will notice them real quick. I can tell you that. So that's something that we have in our culture.
What was the hardest transition to make?
Good question. Probably that story that I just told you about the speaking English and being confident, being comfortable, speaking in front of a group of people, or even for that matter, speaking on a podcast. Right. Last week, I was honored to speak in front of the mayor and the council members here in the city of San Antonio, to talk about an ordinance that they wanted to pass. So I would never imagine in my wildest dreams that I was going to speak in front of the mayor of San Antonio, Texas, right? For something, right? So that was definitely a big
a big step,
right? Big step to go over.
Well, today my guest is Mauricio Ramos. He is a successful multifamily real estate investor with over 492 units to his name in Texas. A remarkable accomplishment for a young man of his age. And on top of that, he's had to deal with immigration issues on top of just being a young man in the industry. So congratulations, Mauricio, for all of your major accomplishments there. Talk to us a little bit about transitioning from a career in engineering. I think you're still in engineering, but you're doing the multifamily investing as well. Talk to us about how you came to find that path in multifamily industry when you were actually trained as an engineer.
And Doctor, actually, it's my numbers have been updated a little bit. I'm at 502 units now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, recently acquired another property.
Very good.
So I did construction for 10 years. And I guess it ties back to my earlier story about all the construction that I saw go up. So when I went into civil engineering, I knew I wanted to do construction. So worked for different construction companies for 10 years. Started in 2008. When I came to San Antonio, one of my interns in the construction company, his name is Adrian, who now is my business partner. He showed me real estate, right? I never thought anything about real estate, and he introduced me to real estate, and then started listening to reading and listening to books such as Rich Dad Poor Dad and Cash Flow Quadrant, Richest Man in Babylon, those kind of books, changing my mindset. And I knew before real estate, I knew I didn't, like you said on the intro, I knew I didn't want to do real estate forever. I'm sorry, I didn't want to be an employee for the rest of my life. I saw a few of my coworkers in construction work till they were 60, 65, 70. And I mean, there was no way out. I mean, they had to continue to work, right? So I knew I didn't want that. And I know construction is a very demanding industry. So it's not a 9 to 5 kind of job, and it's not Monday through Friday. So I knew for a fact that I didn't want to do that. I just didn't know what was the answer, what was the way out. And then when I saw real estate, I started learning about. I saw flipping, and I was like, I don't want to do flipping, right? Like I just did construction for 10 years. I don't want to go into that, which I still remodel properties, right? But it's kind of different. And so when I learned a little bit of the rental, single family rental, that started to make sense. I'm like, okay, this can work. This can work out. Started learning more, and did my very first deal was a mobile home. Just bought a mobile home, which was in a mobile home park, remodeled it, and owner financed it. Then did another one just like that. And then did a few single family wholesales, and then bumped into multifamily. And that's when my engineering mind really clicked, because it's all about numbers, right? There's no comps or things like that. It's net operating income, how much the property is worth, depending on the cap rate, and then that's it. It's very numbers oriented valuations. So my mind really grasped it. And so this is probably between 2015, 16 through 2018. All this time I was still working for construction as a project manager, and doing on the side, I was doing real estate. And in 2018, I closed on a very profitable deal where I was able to quit my job.
Oh, okay.
And now I just do multifamily full-time real estate.
Well, interesting transition there. Interesting. We have a lot of things in common. One of the first things I did was actually a mobile home flip as well. So yeah. So tell us, what are 3 good things that have happened to you in the last 24 hours?
I was able to wake up, so and I'm healthy, so that's pretty good. What else? I was approved as a final approval to start my training as for my private pilot license, which I'm attempting to obtain. So today I got the email from TSA saying you're good. You can start your training. All your fingerprints and everything has been approved.
That's a good thing.
Happy about that. And what else? I mean, I have friends and family, so I'm very blessed.
Very good. It's always nice to look at the good things in life. Well, we've come to the end of our time here. So my guest today is Mauricio Ramos. And Mauricio, before I go to my last question here that I ask all of my guests, tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you.
Yes, so I'm on Instagram. You can find my my company Instagram, which is the Medici _group. The Medici is spelled out DEMEDICI, like the Italian last name, the Medici _group. And same in Facebook, the Medici group. You can find the web pages there. And then you'll see everything that we have going on. Also, if you go to our webpage, themedicigroup.com, you can sign up for our monthly newsletter, which will also show you what we're doing every month, updates on our properties, some tips on business and education and multifamily, just what we have going on every month. You'll get an update on your email.
Wonderful. Where did you come up with the name?
The Medici?
Yeah.
So from the Italian last name, the Italian family,
Uh-huh.
the Medicis were a family from Florence,
Right.
started from basically nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and they started doing fabrics. They would do fabrics and sell them, and then they started in the banking
They
business,
became the big bankers. Yeah. Uh-huh.
and they became bankers to the Pope. And at a point, they were the richest family in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and powerful as well. And also, they supported art
Mm-hmm.
very much, including artists like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Sandro. The I mean, half of what's built in Florence, it was built by them, or
Mm-hmm.
or painted or sculptured by an artist that was sponsored by them. And I
Exactly.
really like art too, as you can see from my background.
Uh-huh.
And if you go to our webpage, you'll see what we've done to some of our properties. We've painted some murals on our properties, so I
Oh,
take some
wow.
pride on giving a unique touch to our properties. And not that I feel like I'm a Medici, but I like that, giving that touch, in being able to support a local artist that can express his or her ideas onto a property and make it unique. So that those are some of the kind of the ways I identify myself with them, and that's why I really wanted to take the name.
I like that. That's impressive. I think you're the first person I've heard who actually is uh, sponsoring uh, local artists in conjunction with making a profit on your multifamily units there. I like that.
Yeah, it's good,
Yeah.
good to hear it. I know a few other syndicators that have tried it,
Uh-huh.
um, but I have to say, so far from what I've seen, mine is one of the most unique.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
like that.
if you're ever in McAllen, Texas, feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to show them.
Yeah, I'll have to do that. Do you have any photographs on your site of the murals?
Um, Not with me right now, but I'll be happy to share them, or send you some if you want to share them. But I don't have any with me right now.
You need to put those on your website. Yeah, those are.
On the web page, you'll
Yeah.
see some for
Oh,
sure.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'll take a gander then. Yeah. Well, my last question is, when you come to the end of this life's journey, what do you want your epitaph to read?
That's very interesting. Give back. The fact that Mauricio was a humble person that was able to give back to everybody that was around him, and leave a legacy, not necessarily leave a bunch of just material stuff, but legacy and culture and kind of traditions, education, formation, principles.
Wonderful aspirations. It has been a pleasure being with you, Mauricio, and I hope to have some future conversations with you to get to know you even better. So thanks for being on the show today.
Likewise, Dr. Allen, I appreciate your time.